My name is Homer Jackson. I'm an interdisciplinary artist and the director of the Philadelphia Jazz Project. And I am an adjunct professor at Temple University in film and media arts. I teach a course in multimedia storytelling. I am a graduate of Tyler School of Art. I was a printmaking major. In a way, because there's so much, there's a lot of video in this project. So there are sort of like almost a broadcast kind of situation with a number of the videos. They're shared together, presented on a particular screen, a single screen. My piece is a video installation that's separate from some of the other pieces, but I have to say all of the work is very much related, the visual artwork as well as the media and photography work, wrapped around the theme of racial segregation in public pools. And for me, it also explores the residual social, cultural, psychological, spiritual residuals of that action. I was fortunate enough to be introduced to Victoria Brazia, who is the curator for Pool. And she reached out to me, it might have been last summer when we met, and talked to me about the idea. And I was blown away by the simplicity of the concept and the depth and breadth of what was possible when you think about something as simple as public pools and their connection to water in general. And each of us, everybody involved in the exhibition, have their own water stories, which inspired or instigated their participation in the exhibition. My basic story was that I was a Boy Scout, and in the Boy Scouts, the highest honor is to receive the Eagle, to become an Eagle Scout. Many presidents, astronauts, generals, major folk were Eagle Scouts. I was 2 merit badges away from being an Eagle Scout. And the 2 merit badges that I needed to be an Eagle Scout were swimming and life-saving. I could swim a bit, but I was not a great swimmer. And I didn't learn how to swim in an organized fashion. And I was a Boy Scout with other kids who were in a troop in my neighborhood who were good swimmers. I just wasn't. And that always sort of haunted me, that I never was a great swimmer and couldn't figure out how to do it, and didn't have the time and in a way the resources to be able to become a good enough swimmer to get my Eagle Scout honors. Music is so powerful. It's so rich. I mean, when you talk about Black music, when you talk about the Black experience, you can't talk about it without a soundtrack. And we all have, just like we all have a water experience, we all have a piece of music that speaks to us specifically about particular experiences and times and moments in our lives. And so some of the music in the piece sort of illuminates creates a texture in the piece that sort of like a teaspoon of sugar makes the medicine go down. The music creates this at ease and allows you to be emotional in a way, in terms of, at least how I think about it, in terms of the work that I use. In one piece in particular, the piece is called Water Plug. And Water Plug is about growing up in Philadelphia, never going to a swimming pool. The only way you experienced water was when the fire hydrant on your street was turned on and people had buckets of water and threw them, and you ran up and down the street in the water. And this is a normal thing in Philadelphia in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And that piece is about, my youth and people in my age group and so on, youth. And I use a piece of music and was given permission to use it by Carl Grubbs, who is a relative of John Coltrane. And the song is called In My Youth. And we performed that song a few times, and Carl has come and performed it with us too, because the song, it just feels like it's a happy, frolicking, youthful experience. And that song is related to his, and that entire album called The Visitors is, and that the band was called The Visitors. He and his brother put this group together. They used to visit John Coltrane's house as children, and that's where the concept for the album came about. And this song speaks to that youthful period. And they were inspired by John Coltrane and amazed and taught by him. So that piece of music is really special in the piece, and it sets the tone for the Water Plug experience, that the story that's told in the piece. One of the most amazing things is like this summer, a musician who is a critical catalyst in the development of John Coltrane's career and his art, and part of that really rich community from the 50s and 60s in Philadelphia. His name was Hassan Ibn Ali. And Hassan was a neighbor of mine. I grew up down the street from him. And on, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 occasions, I went to the store for him, or bought cigarettes for him, or went to the dry cleaners. And occasionally we would hear him practicing in his house. Very occasionally, because I was pretty young. His album, a missing album of his work that features Odine Pope, came out this summer. It was recorded in 1965. And it's amazing. And he's one of those Philadelphia musicians who are considered a musician's musician. Philadelphia has so many jazz artists who were a part of someone else's team that made someone else popular and world-renowned. They don't always get their recognition, but the musicians know who they were. And he's one of those people. Like a Philly Joe Jones is another, Edgar Bateman is another, John Blake is another, Jimmy Garrison. There's just so many Philadelphia musicians who are essential to the Philadelphia, I should say to the jazz story, but who aren't the headliners. And even to this day, many world-renowned musicians have a number of Philadelphia musicians amongst their crew. Yeah. Beyonce, John Legend have Philadelphians who are part of their team. Well, Philadelphia is just, it's really amazing city in terms of its history, its contradictions, its placement, its physical location, its name. We call it, the up south. This idea, it's the northernmost southern city in some kind of ways. Philadelphia is situated in a situation where it's deemed as there's Philadelphia, and then the rest of Pennsylvania is Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and the rest of the Pennsylvania is antebellum South. People have said it is a city that its name deals with love, but at times it is quite often not a very loving place. It is a place, I've said many times that, Philadelphia is a city filled with ghosts. History is in a way, it's our business. And it's amazing how little we use and explore the history that we're swimming in. And so that's, for me, one of the things that I love about opportunities that I've taken advantage of and ideas that I'm interested in is to explore that history and to put it into a contemporary context in some kind of way. And I've done that a number of times with the Philadelphia Jazz Project. I think it's just essential and important. And I'm stunned that not enough Philadelphia artists, regardless of what art form you're working in, don't really exploit the rich canvas of history that we have as a catalyst to create new work. I feel like an outsider. I've always felt like that. I've always felt like an outsider. I've always had to do the other thing to keep it moving. And I didn't have an expectation that I would actually ever be inside anyway. So in terms of my teaching, even long before I had the opportunity to teach at all, as a guest artist, I would always speak to students about the kind of experience that I had. And in the real world, there's the 1%, then there's the 5%, and then there's everybody else. And I'm always asking the folks in the room about being the everybody else, that I'm sort of teaching to the everybody else, because the everybody else is going to have to figure out what they're going to do with their life. What are you going to do after you leave school? It's not already written for you. You've got to make it happen. How are you going to make it happen? What is your community? Who are you connected to? Who do you want to be connected to? Who inspires you? Are you willing to look beyond the dream that you have and face the realities of what the possibilities are, and then even make your own lane to be able to do the work that you want to do? I mentioned to my students yesterday, I taught the first class of the semester yesterday, and talked about how of the 50 people that you'll meet in school this semester, one or two of them may go on to be like world-renowned artists. And some of the other people that you meet may be amazing regional and even national artists. And then there's other people who may not go anywhere, but who might have a major influence on your life. You have no idea what the future holds, but your engagement with each other is critical and essential. And that you cannot judge a book by its cover. It's essential to avoid that because you can't read the future. I really enjoy engaging with the students that I've worked with. I feel like I learn as much from them as I hope they learn from me. My goal is to introduce them to as many things as I can that in my mind serve as examples of directions in which you can go, and to help people to understand that some of the roots of ideas that we take for granted today, the travel that those ideas had to make to get to us today, that those artists, those individuals who created these things took a risk. They stepped out. They tried to solve a problem that they had, and their solution turns out to be a thing that other people can use. And that that same model, that same attitude about being willing to take a step out, to do something different, to solve a particular problem that you have is about invention. And it's valuable to embrace that and to take risks and try to tell your story. That's what I hope that I can share with my students. It's funny because I start off the class by telling the students that, in a way, multimedia storytelling as an umbrella, a concept, is actually a redundancy, because if you're a filmmaker, if you're a theater artist, if you're a video artist, you are already fundamentally a multimedia artist. The forms are multimedia already. However, we don't look at them as multimedia. Many folks come in as filmmakers or video makers, or their focus is the visual. So they never think about sound as essential. And the idea, and I eventually get to the idea of like, what is a story? Is a story, ultimately a story is a symbol, a brand, a logo. When you see a logo, the entire story of that experience hits you. And that's not a narrative story in the sense that, it's a singular image. It's not a timeline there that is shared with you. It's just an image. And how can we go from that simple spark of a singular image and be able to share thoughts with folk? These are the kind of questions I'm asking. And in the asking, my goal is, I hope, is to inspire opportunities to try different things and to push expectations beyond what we already know and take for granted. In terms of my own work, well, one thing that I'm really interested in, and this is a jazz project initiative, I really am interested in exploring our experience, our survival, our sense of survival's remorse and guilt and mourning and joy and celebration over COVID. And I'm hoping to commission some composers to create new works that explore the gamut of the COVID experience for the city, and to present these pieces next summer in concert, hopefully in Fairmount Park. That's one of the things I'm working on. Also, there's a young artist that I met in the process of developing Pool, that my piece is called Whispers from the Deep. And she shared an idea that was so wonderful, but much more involved than what we had time for to do in Pool. And we're going to meet sometime this fall and chart out a plan to try to exploit this idea and to bring it into the real world. So it would be wonderful if we're able to do that. Let's see, there's another project. Oh, I'm working with Cosa Cosa Art at Large, a public art organization here in Philadelphia. And the Philadelphia Jazz Project is collaborating with them on an NEA-funded project of, it's a CD of new protest art and music. And so we've written 2 songs composed by James Solomon, and they feature a number of Philadelphia musicians. And the wonderful thing that we started this when everybody was still pretty much locked down, and everyone recorded their own pieces, their own parts of this music in their own studio. So we actually were never together to create this music. We all did it separately and brought it together. It's an amazing accomplishment. And sometime in September we'll be done, and I believe it will be released, this CD. I guess finally, I'm still in this, my mind is still spinning around the George Floyd murder protests, counter protests, and all of that energy. And I did a lot of reading and thinking, and there's some pieces that are brewing in my head that are soon to become material in the material world, I think.